Ah, Germany. Land of sausages, philosophers, and extremely confusing grammar. But in 1939, Germany wasn't making bratwurst and philosophical arguments. It was prepping for war, a big one, again. Yep, welcome to World War II, told from Germany's perspective. But don't worry, this isn't going to be a 2-hour lecture from a guy in tweed. This is the fast-paced, funny, and fact-loaded version of the German side of history's worst group project. Let's go. Okay. Let's set the scene. It's 1939. Germany is led by Adolf Hitler, a man with one of the worst moustaches in world history and an obsession with taking over stuff that didn't belong to him. Think of him as that kid in Monopoly who never plays fair and flips the board when he loses. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invades Poland. Why? Well, Hitler claimed it was self-defense, which in reality was about as accurate as calling a raccoon in your trash a freedom fighter. But this wasn't just any invasion. Germany rolled in with tanks, planes, and a new tactic called blitzkrieg, German for lightning war, super fast, super destructive, and super terrifying if you're on the receiving end. Fun fact, blitzkrieg wasn't actually a formal doctrine. It was more like, hey, what if we just punch through their defences with everything we've got at once? And it worked for a while. On September 3rd, Britain and France were like, oi! Not cool, and declared war on Germany. And just like that, World War II officially began. 1940, Europe speedrun, any percent blitzkrieg glitch. So now Germany's at war with basically all the cool kids in Europe. And instead of going, oh no, what have we done? Hitler and his generals decided to double down. In April 1940, Germany invaded Denmark and Norway. Denmark surrendered in 6 hours. Norway took longer because, well, Vikings. Then in May 1940, Germany invaded France, but not through the heavily fortified Maginot Line. Nah. They yeeted through Belgium instead, completely catching the Allies off guard. Cue more blitzkrieg. By June, Paris fell. The French government surrendered on June 22nd, 1940. In the very same railway car Germany surrendered in after World War I. Yes, Hitler was that petty. Winston Churchill became British Prime Minister in May 1940. His reaction? We shall fight on the beaches, etc. Germany never fully invaded Britain. Why? Because of the Battle of Britain, July to October 1940. The Luftwaffe, German Air Force, tried to bomb the UK into submission, but Britain had radar and tea. They survived. Meanwhile, Germany was riding high. France, gone. Belgium, gone. Netherlands, gone. Everyone was like, dude, Germany is unstoppable. 1941. The year Germany looked at the Soviet Union, the largest country in the world, and said, let's go. Enter Operation Barbarossa, launched on June 22nd, 1941. Germany sent over 3 million troops, thousands of tanks, and the firm belief that it would all be over by Christmas. Spoiler, it wasn't. At first, things went well. Germany pushed deep into Soviet territory, took a bunch of prisoners, captured Kiev. By December, they were knocking on Moscow's frosty door, but then winter said hello. German soldiers were freezing, tanks wouldn't start, supply lines were a disaster, and unlike Germany, the Soviets were built for this stuff. Imagine fighting Russians in the snow wearing summer uniforms. Meanwhile, on December 7th, 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Big oops. Why? Because now the United States entered the war. Germany declared war on the US a few days later. So let's recap. Germany is fighting the British and the Soviets, and now the Americans, while freezing to death in the Russian tundra. Bold strategy. Let's see how it plays out. 1942. Germany still looked strong on paper, but the cracks were spreading. In North Africa, the German Afrika Korps, led by the famous Erwin Rommel, aka the Desert Fox, was fighting the British for control of oil, sand, and presumably really sweaty uniforms. But Rommel's winning streak ended at the Battle of El Alamein in October 1942. British General Montgomery pushed them back. Germany was losing its tan and its grip on Africa. But the real disaster was happening in the Soviet Union, Stalingrad. In late 1942, Germany tried to take the city of Stalingrad. The Soviets said, over our dead bodies. Germany replied, that's the idea, and then got stuck in the most brutal urban warfare ever. By February 1943, the German Sixth Army, 300,000 strong, was surrounded and forced to surrender. It was the first major defeat of Hitler's armies, and the point where many historians say, yeah, this is where it started going downhill. Hitler refused to let his generals retreat. His logic: we never surrender. Reality check: over 90,000 Germans ended up prisoners. If Germany was sweating before, 1944 was full-on panic mode. On June 6th, 1944, the Allies landed on the beaches of Normandy, France. You might know it as D-Day. Germany knew it as, oh no, not another front. The invasion included 5,000 ships, 11,000 planes, 156,000 troops. Germany tried to fight them off, but they were stretched too thin. Plus, they had no idea where the Allies would land, so their defence was all over the place. By August, Paris was liberated. The Allies were pushing into Western Germany. Meanwhile, in the east, the Soviets launched Operation Bagration in June, which obliterated the German Army Group Centre, like wiped off the map level destruction. Germany was being squished from both sides, like a panini, and just when things couldn't get worse, Hitler started trusting no one, making terrible military decisions, and still refused to surrender. By 1945, the game was up. Germany was running out of soldiers, tanks, planes, and hope. The Allies were bombing German cities. The Soviets were closing in from the east. American troops were rolling in from the west. Berlin was surrounded. Inside his bunker, Hitler refused to believe the war was lost. He blamed everyone: his generals, the weather, probably his alarm clock. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler died by suicide. On May 2nd, Berlin fell to the Soviets. And on May 7th, 1945, Germany officially surrendered. The war in Europe was over. That's VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. Cue fireworks, or awkward silence, depending on which side you were on. Germany was in ruins, literally. Cities destroyed, millions dead, divided into zones controlled by the Allies. The eastern part became a communist state under the Soviets. The west became a democracy. And Germany? It had a lot of explaining to do. War crimes, atrocities, the Holocaust, trials at Nuremberg. But over time, Germany rebuilt, and it made a very important decision: no more starting world wars. Also, maybe don't listen to guys with weird mustaches and big egos. So, what's the takeaway? From Germany's perspective, World War II started as a quest for power, domination, and revenge, but it ended in defeat, division, and a giant moral reckoning. Germany lost because of overconfidence, terrible decisions like invading Russia, fighting too many enemies, and an absolute refusal to quit while ahead, but also because the world said never again, and meant it. Now Germany is one of the most peaceful, democratic countries in the world. Pretty solid glow up. And you just learned the entire World War II story from the German side in less than an hour. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this chaotic history ride. Subscribe for more stories that are 90% facts and 10% sarcasm. And remember, history isn't just about the past. It's about learning how not to do dumb stuff in the future. See you next time.